It started as just another ordinary morning in the towering glass building of Sterling Enterprises. Polished floors gleaming, the air humming with quiet urgency. But no one noticed the janitor moving silently across the lobby, except for one man watching from the top floor balcony. The Billionaire CEO, Ethan Sterling, leaned against the railing, his sharp eyes catching something unusual, as something that would change how he saw people, kindness, and his own humanity forever. Down below, the janitor had stopped mopping the floor to help a visitor who looked lost and anxious, a broken bar, a visitor who couldn't hear a single sound. The woman stood near the reception desk, clutching a piece of paper. Her lips moved as she tried to speak, but no sound came out. The receptionist, clearly flustered, waved her hands helplessly, unsure of what to do. People passed by, glancing for a moment before hurrying on. The woman's eyes began to glisten with tears. That's when the janitor, Marcus, noticed. He set down his mop, wiped his hands on his uniform, and approached her slowly and carefully, gently, like someone stepping into a fragile moment. "Ma'am," he said softly, but then he realized that she couldn't hear. So instead, he raised his hands and began to sign. Her eyes widened. For the first time that morning, a smile broke across her face. "You know sign language?" She signed back quickly, her hands trembling. Marcus nodded. "A little," he signed. "My daughter's deaf." The two began to communicate in simple, flowing gestures. She explained that she had an appointment for a job interview but had gotten lost in the maze of offices. She was late and scared that she had missed her chance. Marcus smiled warmly and signed, "Don't worry, I'll take you there." From the balcony above, Ethan watched, his hands tightening on the railing. He had seen the woman earlier and nervous, struggling, and he had told security to deal with it. But now, as he watched his janitor patiently guide her down the hall, signing with gentle precision, something inside him shifted. He couldn't hear their words, but he could feel their meaning. Marcus led the woman to the HR department, staying with her until she was safely inside. She thanked him over and over, her gratitude clear even without sound. Then Marcus went back to his mop and bucket as if nothing had happened. To him, it was just the right thing to do. But Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it. That evening, long after everyone had gone home, he replayed the security footage. He zoomed in on Marcus, watching the small kindness unfold. It wasn't the grand gestures or the polished speeches that impressed him. It was the quiet, wordless humanity of it all. The next day, Ethan called for Marcus. The janitor was nervous as he entered the CEO's office, wiping his hands on his uniform again. The room was enormous, glass walls, city views, and an air of importance that made his heart pound. Ethan gestured for him to sit. "I saw what you did yesterday," he began, "with the woman who was deaf." Marcus's face turned red. "Oh, sir, I'm sorry if I was out of line. I just wanted to help her." Ethan smiled faintly. "Out of line, number. You were the only one who did the right thing." There was silence for a moment. Then Ethan leaned forward. "Tell me something, Marcus. Why did you learn sign language?" Marcus hesitated, then pulled a worn photo from his pocket. It was of a little girl with curly hair and the biggest smile. "My daughter, Lily. She was born deaf. I wanted to be able to talk to her, so I took night classes after work. Sometimes I'd come here tired, but I kept going. She's my whole world." Ethan stared at the photo, his throat tightening. He had no family left, no one waiting for him at home. He'd built his empire brick by brick, dollar by dollar, but somewhere along the way, he'd lost the simple joy of connecting. "Marcus," he said finally, "you've just inspired a change in this company." Marcus looked confused. "Sir?" Ethan stood and turned toward the window, his reflection shimmering in the glass. "We're going to start a new initiative via a program for inclusivity. I want to hire more people with disabilities, and I want you to be part of it." "Me?" Marcus stammered. "I'm just a janitor." Ethan turned back, his gaze firm but kind. "Not anymore. You're someone who understands what real communication means." Marcus blinked in disbelief, unsure whether to smile or cry. Weeks passed, and the change began to ripple through the company. Training sessions in basic sign language were introduced for all employees. Accessibility improvements were made across every floor. Marcus worked closely with HR, helping design the programs, his quiet wisdom guiding the company's heart. And one afternoon, the same woman from before with the deaf visitor walked into Ethan's office. She had gotten the job. "Thank you," she signed to him, her movements graceful, confident, "for hiring people like me." Ethan smiled and signed back, clumsily but sincerely, "Thank Marcus." From across the hall, Marcus saw them and paused, watching. He smiled to himself and went back to his cart, polishing the floor that now reflected a different kind of light up, the kind that comes when one small act of kindness changes everything. Later that evening, Ethan stood once again on the balcony, looking down at the lobby, the same place where it had all begun. But this time, the world looked different. Employees laughed together, some signing simple words as they passed each other. The building, once cold and silent, now buzzed with warmth. And as he turned to leave, Ethan thought of Marcus's daughter, of the quiet love between a father and child that could bridge any silence. Because sometimes, the loudest voices are the ones spoken without sound. The billionaire CEO had built an empire of wealth, but it took a janitor's hands to teach him how to build an empire of heart.